Hello, my name is Francisco from Espacio Tech, a computer museum based on Argentina. You are listening to the Scene World Magazine podcast.
All right. Hey, sup, word, people. It's
Hello.
podcast, the scene world.
Exactly.
AJ, we're
And
here.
Jörg, coming back from Germany, having a voice sounding
Coming,
like total crap.
coming back from Germany, like
Sorry.
you
Gamescom in Germany.
yes.
Gamescom in Germany, having a voice like crap from
From screaming at people,
screaming 5 days to a very loud environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess one of our next episodes will be the Gamescom special edition.
As usual, I look forward to this one. It
Yeah,
looks like a good time.
last year the team didn't want to do it, but I think this year we will do it again.
We do it every year. Didn't we do it last year?
No, nobody wanted to do it, and I wasn't present. I was like, okay, then we don't do it.
Oh, okay.
Which is a shame because it's our most successful episode.
Yeah, I like those episodes. Looking back at the, I don't like
Yeah.
editing them, but that'll be on you guys because you were there and I wasn't. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that edit.
Anyway, I wrote down some news before Gamescom. So one of those news would be that the Vintage is the New Old has been archived. And Sarah opened a new blog to replace it, the Commodore blog. So it's going basically back to the roots.
Yep.
Because before Vintage is the New Old, it was Commodore is awesome. Yes. So we are going 180 degrees. We are going backwards to its roots. So the URL is commodoreblog.uk. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. And also,
it's a good thing because it's a great receptacle. It's a great place to find information because, I mean, that's, I maybe you guys are listening to us for your news, but we get a lot of our news from places like this. So
exactly. But now, sorry.
Good grief, my man. Are you all right there?
Yeah. Well, as I said, throat issues after Gamescom, very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. But now only Commodore centric. Yeah.
This actually works well because throughout most of the interview that we're going to be doing with the Chernobyl family in a minute, my dog is coughing in the background. So this blends very nicely into that.
Awesome.
So now Jörg will be coughing through the intro. My dog will be coughing through the interview. There's just coughing all around. People are gonna be in their cars just choking to death. Listening to us. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Anyway, other news. Linus Tech Tips released a video where they test the customer support of their sponsors, which is very interesting.
They had a whole thing where Linus Tech Tips stopped producing any videos for over a week.
That's another thing, yeah. By Gamers Nexus, by Steve, they got accused of doing all kind of shitty stuff, not being accurate at all.
Right.
And then Madison, their former social media manager, accused them of being harassing female workers and stuff.
Yeah, and they actually
changed things now.
They changed things. Yeah, Linus stepped down as CEO. They put somebody new in place.
But that was before.
I thought that was already.
No.
That happened right before all this other stuff happened.
Exactly, but that was already that is not connected to that.
Oh, okay. And then they basically have spent the last
week and a
couple of
half.
weeks, yeah, a week and a half, figuring out how to fix
exactly
the problems in their system, which is
but the
commendable.
new CEO was not appointed because of that. That was before, because Linus was having a burnout and didn't want it to be the boss anymore.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's rough too, as you and I can attest. It's rough being the face and organization and everything else for something. And I mean, we are a fraction of the size of Linus Tech Tips, but I think we've both burned ourselves out doing this at some point.
Well, luckily, I'm not the face anymore. Especially at Gamescom, you could see in the recordings that Dennis is mostly besides me in all the interviews, because now he is the face.
Yes, Dennis is awesome. I think you still are largely sort of the the top, one of the top, the top guy, but yeah.
When it comes to public relations,
Yeah,
and being the face, that's him now.
I've got one bit of news here, which is that Vintage Computer Festival West 23 happened on August 8th. That was a couple weeks ago now. There's a bunch of videos that are available on the Oasis BBS. We'll put a link to that in the podcast description so you can see what that looked like. Looks a lot like the Vintage Computer Festival East, but in the West.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Next news: Dr. Maria has been ported to the Z64, called Dr. Maria.
Okay.
We all know why it's Maria, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, it's nice to have that ported as well.
Is it a direct port, or is it like a Gianna Sisters port?
It's a direct Dr. Mario port.
So it's pretty much like when they ported Super Mario Brothers to the 64.
Exactly, just being female instead of male.
Okay. I was gonna say because there's two ways of porting it. There's one in which you pretty much rebuild all the code, like you implement it exactly as it was implemented in the original thing, as best you can, which is what we have with Super Mario Brothers and I believe Sonic was also like that. And then there's another way in which you just basically make a new game that looks like the other game, which is the Gianna Sisters approach.
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't say. But it looks like the NES version. Very, very identical to it. Yeah.
Well, cool.
I mean, it's not such a big of a game that it would make it different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are lots and lots of clone games of that already, because just the concept.
No, not for the Commodore 64. That's
really
the first release. There never been a Dr. Mario for the Z64.
Huh.
That's the first. It was ported to the Atari first.
Right.
But now it's ported to the Z64. That's the first port of its kind.
Yeah, it does look very similar
to the NES version. Yeah. First port of its kind.
Well, very cool. Very nice. We'll see how that.
I mean, finally, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, other news from Bitmap Books. The Art of the Box book is now available for pre-order.
Art of the Box?
Out of the box book. Yeah.
Okay. What is that about?
I mean, box art.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I mean, they make books about everything.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
even though I wouldn't buy it, because if I want to have box art, I would go to Lemon 64 and look at it. But
I mean, I guess there is a story behind the art on the box, so that's really what they're looking at.
I don't know. I didn't see the book. I can't tell you if that is what they are after. Okay, they have some previews of some pages. It looks like just the box art and then some credits.
Okay, well.
Oh yeah, and some concept arts as well.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and some stories. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, some stories.
I was gonna say because
and some details about box artists and so on. So there's a bit more behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Whole stories about certain box artists.
Because there are certain boxes. I'm gonna grab the thing over here. One of my all-time favorite games on the C64, which is, and I have the box from it because I'm a dork, is Space Rogue. And the dude has just a generic, it's a motorcycle helmet with someone stuck an antenna on. He's just a dude with a jacket and a scarf. I want to know, like, what went into who this idiot is, how they exactly they did this, like, like what's the story with this mess? And then even on the inside, like you got your owner's manual and stuff for the ship. That's not, you don't use that ship in the game ever. That's not in the game. So yeah, it's there are some questionable decisions made in games like that. There's another one, Sentinel Worlds 1, that the cover of the thing is nothing that happens in the game at all. So, it's one of those things where it would be nice to know kind of what the story behind it was. So that could be cool. I'm down with that.
Anyway, other news, the CRX 2023 will be a virtual event held on October 13th with 15th, and more infos about that on crxevent.com. Yeah, and going back to Jim True, the keycaps for the Commodore 64 computer has been shipped now. I'm picking it up from the postal service tomorrow.
There's a video I saw of Jan Beta going into them, showing them off.
Nice. Because I was at Gamescom when they arrived.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Long pause.
And Bill Hurd made a memorial page and referred to it. George Robbins again.
I don't what?
What?
I don't know what the Bill Hurd memorial page George Robbins thing is.
George Robbins was a former Commodore worker, known as GBR.
Okay.
And GBR did the Amiga 500 and was a fixture at the R&D, so research and development labs, in the mid to late years.
Okay.
So we will link to the memorial page.
I assume he passed away?
I guess a while ago, but Bill Hurd just continued to remember him.
Okay. Well, that's always good.
And last but not least, Lemmings has been released for the Commodore +4 computer.
So for the three of you that have a Commodore +4 computer,
Well,
you now play
in the east of Europe, they are very much spread.
Yeah.
Well, that would be all from my side.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yup.
Yeah. So the Chernobyl family is waiting. Not exactly. I don't think they're in they're in the Chernobyl zone, but they are waiting for us to talk to them. So
awesome.
let's go over there and talk to them. Did we even say that we? Yes, we did say that we were talking to them.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's go
You
over.
have been there as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So let's go and talk to them and
beep, beep.
listen to my dog cough and their cat cough.
Awesome. So bye.
Bye.
So today we have another round of our podcast again with two guests this time, and this time it's the Chernobyl family. In the flesh of
the Chernobyl
Michaela.
Chernobyl family sounds so terrible. It's like,
well, that's their name. What can I do about it?
I know. I'm just saying, like
no,
you know.
We neither. So.
So in the form of Michaela from Slovakia and Alex from Ukraine. Welcome to the show, guys. And actually, you have been suggested to me by the YouTube algorithm, who was like, oh, you like retro computing and old stuff, you might like the Chernobyl family. It was like, that's super amazing.
Yeah, me too. That's actually also how I discovered.
Yeah.
And I actually, if I understood correctly, you're actually restoring and taking computers from the Chernobyl site and restoring them, kind of? Kind of.
Yes and no, because...
Yes and no, okay.
Here should be, here you have to understand that before all, we do research there for more than a decade. And let's say I was always interested in the technology because there's a lot of technological solutions, unique and so on. But the thing is, we do not take things from the zone because this is A, illegal, B, actually pointless. So, but what we do, we use what is there as a references to get more information. Then we contact the scientists who worked back then 30 years ago with that stuff. And then using the, let's say, extensive search across all Ukraine, we can get, socket boards there, hard drive here, casing there, and then with the original blueprints, we can assemble it back and it works.
Because when you see the original technique in the zone, it's mostly absolutely destroyed. It's rusty. It was smashed when the people were leaving. By the purpose, it was smashed. So many times you see something that is absolutely crashed and find out what it is and then continues as Alex said.
On the other hand, it would be difficult as to say, A, it's illegal, and then you have footage on YouTube about it. That would be kind of stupid, you know?
You're allowed to go a certain distance into the exclusion zone, right? You just have to monitor levels.
We actually work there. So let's say our YouTube stuff is more for expressing what they're interested in, but behind that, there were years when we spent inside, actually probably more time than outside, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is such a place where you really come first time, maybe it's just as a visitor, and then you understand that is so catchy that you really, years pass and you understand you still have so much to understand about this, so much to explore. And when you start to contact people who really have been in the hottest days, that's mind-blowing. Like about this I will tell later, because literally like what is happening now, like these days, we have amazing meetings I can share about, so it's gorgeous.
So is that how that started? You have been there on the Chernobyl site as tourists first, and then you decide like, I stay there?
It's a little bit different. For example, for me, it was not that I found some side. I basically found people who said, like, listen, come together with us to the Chernobyl exclusion zone. And I said, okay, why not? So I went, and then I started to visit it regularly, and I stayed.
In my case, for instance, like, here is the thing. I was born in Ukraine. And in 90s, you always had a narrative, that this is somewhere there, but everyone refuses to talk about that because the social trauma was very deep. And my parents, for instance, they just refused to talk about that, like it was a repulsive subject. And you become curious. And when I became older, I actually found people who lived there and who said, yeah, it's possibility to visit, and we'll show the places where we lived. And that was pretty emotive and personal experience, yeah. All the rest stuff, yeah, that came already later when first I was coming this way, then I started to work there, and here we are.
And how does somebody from Slovakia come together with somebody from Ukraine and decides, like, let's do this together and let's put it on YouTube?
They're not that far away.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I know what the map looks like, but it's not like, oh, we are not far away, let's work together or something. It's not that easy, right? There must have been some things happening in between. That's just what I wonder about.
I arrested her.
No.
Okay, kidnapping. Ooh.
We met in the zone. It was not the accident. I came to talk with him because I had some kind of questions that no one else knew, and as he was in very gorgeous projects what I heard about, so I simply asked a few questions and somehow we stayed together.
Yeah. Chernobyl, connecting people.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I saw reports about it on YouTube before of the site, and there are actually people organizing tourist tours and as a kind of an attraction, even though it's half illegal to do that. So
it's very legal.
It's legal. It's absolutely legal. There is legislation about this. You can have a license, you can run a tour company, it's absolutely legal. There are of course trespassers to the zone, but that's not our stuff. That's like their own story, I would say.
Interesting. And how did this turn into a YouTube channel and in an Instagram and stuff?
I will explain very simple. We personally also guided their people for quite a long time. It was like one of activities. But the thing is, don't forget that we are now in a war. And given that right now we can go to the zone mostly just to deliver aid, or help because there was some extensive damage done, we both have a very strong need to continue share knowledge. So about the zone in general, we talk on our Patreon, but that idea about mostly technical stuff for YouTube, that was a long time planned, let's say. So
Wow.
Under such unfortunate circumstances.
Right.
I mean, especially if you realize, I'm one of the few people that still, as a child, I remember we had an old Commodore PC from 87, 86, a PC 20-3. I still have it in my closet. And one of those computers that had an amber screen and stuff. But I mean, obviously many of those videos that you have on your YouTube channel also show those old computers. Of course, the main difference is most of those are all in Cyrillic, and I'm very grateful that you translate everything on the process. I'm like, wow, you are even taking the time of translating and explaining what you are doing and what's happening right now. I mean, most people that do such stuff like content, they just do subtitles. And continue talking in you know, in their native language. So I'm always happy when I see somebody's doing English content, because let's be honest, after a few hours we all get tired of reading subtitles. At least that is my thing. I always have been criticized to demand English only.
Yeah, I like subtitles, but that's just me.
Yeah.
It's natural. Your eyes get more tired when you are looking on the screen and same time reading. There's the reason why many people like me prefer the old types books, and then the reading is not so much hardcore on your eyes.
So can you read Ukrainian? Did you learn it on the way?
Yeah.
That is also something I wondered about, because it would be very difficult to always need a translator on the side, right?
They make them in your phone. You can just point the phone and stuff.
Many things that I don't understand, I simply ask to translate it into some another languages. I'm speaking quite many.
Well, plus in Ukraine, English often is not a problem. So, you know, at home we speak a terrible mixture of Ukrainian, Slovak, and English. So it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah. And about what you said, that we explain what we are doing, I would say one of the reasons, you know, for me, I'm like not a super deep computer like restoration nerd. I'm doing it contextual of our subject. So, you know, I personally really want to share this excitement that, oh my God, this shit works finally, you know. So, and all this idea is also to show the look and feel, because it's obviously very different from most of Western things. Some are pretty the same because they were just cloned. But, you know, sometimes it's really different. So you should dive in it, and how you can do it if you're not really
and the new generation people of my age and younger. I mean, I'm 42 next year, and so old man, yeah. I still remember those old PCs, as I said, with the amber screen. But many new generation younger people, they don't even know what a disk is besides a savings icon. So you are also preserving not only the USDDR computer history, but also computer history in general for people who would otherwise not even know this stuff existed.
And also on just you know, talking about history and stuff. I mean, this is that area is kind of like a spot locked in time. And I remember, you know, where I used to live. Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I used to live on a suburb of New York City, and we had these Nike bases, they were called. It was American missiles bases, silos and stuff. That the intention of that was if a warhead were to be shot, if a nuclear missile were to be shot at New York, these things were supposed to take them down. It would never work. It was an absolutely flawed premise, but they were all around the city, and even though they were out of operation, like the buildings and everything were still there up until fairly recently. And it was just like, just to walk through that and look at that stuff and be like, you know, this is like, you know, the 60s and 70s and even early 80s of, like, you know, the Cold War, like when that still existed. You know, it's like, you know, now it's all been knocked down and people have built houses and stuff there, but you can still kind of go and see where like the watchtowers, platforms were and stuff, and it's, you know, like it's
should visit. Okay.
Yeah, you should absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's
very much like when we could. So yeah, that would be interesting for us.
Yeah, they're really cool sites. There's a couple of them. The one that I knew of isn't around anymore, but there are a few that are still preserved. But yeah, I mean, just keeping that and bringing that back, you know, and kind of turning back the time so people can see, like, this is kind of, you know, this area at kind of not entirely as it was. It's you know, but kind of a jump back in time to, when did that happen? 86.
Yes. Except happened in April 1986.
Yeah.
And you know, here I would add to what you say. It's amazing what you said. let me, as an insider, give one more spice here. Very interesting thing about this zone is that, let's say it's eternal 1986. It's true. It's but in a meaning that it is not a time capsule, but it's more like a landscape in which you deal and which you develop. Because people often have a misconception that Chernobyl zone is such an area which is completely abandoned. There is like barbed wire around.
People live there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But in fact, that's a territory of science, of giant amount of people, giant number of people that actually work there. Yeah, and the task changing, technology is changing. And but nevertheless, they still are in this environment of this eternal 1986 because it defined the history of this area for hundreds of thousands of years. And you need to live there in the way you can live. You need to work in the way you can work and adapt to this. So kind of it.
Yeah. And the wildlife is amazing. I mean, like the way that everything, I've seen a few documentaries on it, and I don't know how realistic they are. But the way that kind of nature kind of took over a lot of it, and animals just came back. I see one of your videos, the stag beetle, Chernobyl native, that is also a native of my backyard in New Jersey. I'm like, yeah, I know that guy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's.
Yeah, these guys are big, 3 inches.
Yeah, they are here too. Yeah, they're massive. Yeah, they're giant. They're giant, and here they don't care if it snows or anything. Like they're just, you see their tracks out in like the middle of the winter. Like why are they out in the winter? That makes no sense.
Are we now on the Discovery Channel?
I've got videos, man. I've got videos of 2 giant stag beetles making out in the snow in a tree stump. That I will probably put right over the video right here while we're talking about it.
Nice. And then we get flagged by YouTube for inappropriate content.
I don't think 2 stag beetles getting it on is going to be inappropriate.
Be careful with that. Because it can happen even when you are using stag beetles or some other.
That is true.
Don't say the word. That can.
Yeah, I mean, when this whole thing started, I was super sure that at some point we would be blocked in certain areas of the world because we did certain interviews and the word war was used and stuff. Nobody cares. I'm like, wow.
I'm just gonna just for the sake of just because we have a chat, I'm going to insert an image of my stag beetles in the chat.
Okay.
Making out in a tree stump in the snow. It's just an image.
Ага, нет, це ці галяфи. Ага. Impressive.
Beautiful.
I don't know why this has any relevance to anything else.
Not really. You were talking just about the wild.
Yes, the wildlife coming back. Yes.
The wildlife in the zone is so beautiful and rich because very easy. The main problem for their lives disappeared. There's not so many people living there. They have much more nature to go around. The nature there is incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
Starting from the forest area till the meadows or artificial fields, swamps, rivers, riverbanks. It's beautifully untouched because the people, when they're coming there, they're there only for visit, a short visit, and the animals, they are their home. And many times they let you know they are their home. Imagine you are driving a car in the zone, and suddenly from the bush comes out such a giant elk and steps in the middle of the road and starts to watch you. And you right now don't know, should I go back or
No, yeah.
do I have enough fuel to go around it?
Yeah.
I would be scared if I see a 3-eyed fish.
I don't think you're going to see a 3-eyed fish, but deer are scary. As a guy whose the front fender of my car was attacked by a deer while I was driving home, and I have a big old, and I got it fixed, and then the next week another deer did the same thing. So I'm like, it's fate. It's just where the dent's gonna be.
Anyway, let's go back to the original topic.
My car lost a duel to a deer twice. So yeah, deer, especially elk, and I don't know if you're talking about like a regular deer or like a moose kind of thing. Moose are terrifying, and I know they're in that area.
So
I will not mess with either of them because they will whip your ass.
So the car was dear to you.
Oh.
The Lord.
Oh my God.
Well,
Nice.
we'll just leave that one alone.
I expected this interview will be amazing, but I never expected it so hilarious. You know?
Yeah. Well, your English is really good if you can make jokes in English. That's what I learned. Anyway, you mentioned earlier that you even interview people that worked on the site back in the day. How does this usually go? Are you like, oh, this is an interesting type of equipment, let's Google and find out who operated it, and then just write him or her and ask about it? Or what's the process?
It depends. A little bit varies, from situation to situation. Like let's for instance look on one of the popular videos that we have. You probably have seen there is a S1841 computer, such a personal machine that was used in Pripyat. It was created after Chernobyl disaster. It was deployed, many of them, in Pripyat, in a Spetsatom enterprise, in Chernobyl town, in power plant, so various stuff that we use. And, a classical example of ridiculous stories. So I'm making a field research. I'm digging into the rotten documents at the Jupiter factory, where Spetsatom has been based. And I find a piece of paper where it's written there was created a experimental system of radiation monitoring based on this computer that requires one, let's say, interface card. And I really start to Google. Then after Googling, I find references for the books. In the books, I found the name of a developer. Then I Google on a possible website, starting of Academy of Science, ending up with the various just scientific journals. I find the name, I find the institute, and I finally make a call. And I have to say that this perhaps is the easiest part, because it's important to understand people who were involved in that. First, they are normally already in age. And second, they have seen much. And with much, I mean like a really, not very easy experience, especially if they have been to the zone in 1986, 1988, when it was the harsh time. And it's really sometimes, taking efforts to explain who you are and why you need to bother the past. Yeah, even if you need to understand about some particular microchip or some card. Yeah, but it practically always involves in something great, because people want to share. And obvious fact, when all of them will die, they will take their stories with them. And it's a duty of younger generation to save the stories, and to present them in proper way, because that's a unique experience. So this, for example, I came to the Institute of Cybernetics of the Academy of Science. It's a pretty big research institution, created in the 60s by Viktor Glushkov, and there we actually met a developer of one of the interface boards of S1841. And it's amazing talk, that evolved very quickly to creation of the laser systems of the Soviet Wi-Fi connections, like prototypes that existed in that time, Sapphire CD discs, and you're just talking about everything. And
it's nerding out, basically.
Yeah. In the zone, it's much more easier because I'm there already since 2011. And basically we know each other. zone, there is a lot of people, but you somehow get connected with people you need to be connected. And especially when we were making these memorial actions, we were inviting many people also from higher staff from the power plant. So there you meet, and there you have possibility to speak kind of off camera, and you can agree, for example, to talk, or you can ask questions that help you for your another study of another subject. So it's much more easier with the zone.
Yeah, and plus, sometimes it's a little bit trouble already for me when, for example, I'm making a call to a serious physicist here who have been developing some really interesting computer system, because it was all about physics, not only about computer science. And that situation when a person says, okay, I'm ready to listen, like your questions, and I understand that,
Sorry.
I need to get all my questions. I need to actually, normally I say, please let us just first speak. I need to understand the scale, let's say, of what you have seen, so I can ask you more. So it's really one day I will write a book about this. It really worth it. Like
why not? Yeah.
Jörg doesn't like to read though, so.
Pardon? What is that?
I said Jörg doesn't like to read though, so just make sure there's pictures.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
We can make a comic book.
Yeah, there we go.
A comic book, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, when we do those interviews, you often have those people saying, "Oh, it's the past, let it rest," Yeah, that is something we often get.
Can I ask why the subject of Chernobyl is such a kind of taboo thing amongst the people that worked there? Because you said a lot of people don't like to talk about it, and it's kind of like sort of an embarrassment, kind of. But I mean, we've seen, the U.S. had 3 Mile Island, which was very similar to that, and we saw the plant go in Japan just a few years back, which was way worse than Chernobyl was, I think. No. Okay.
I will tell you from a perspective of, once more, a person who grew in the very late Soviet years and in the beginning of 90s here.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is what Soviet state made to people, that if you take Pripyat, for example, like people got evacuated and Pripyat just disappeared from all media, like it never existed.
Right.
In all the articles, you could read only the propaganda, how everything will be good, how people will return. And, I do not want to go to the, HBO miniseries, but the sentence, what is the cost of lies, actually is a very, very good explanation. So, plus, understand one more detail, that the place where the zone is located, it is not just city of Pripyat, which was tiny, super modern town. It was also a place where existed more than 90 villages. Many of them had a history of more than 600-700 years. So entire culture of northern Ukraine basically got very much disrupted. People got spread. And, the mentality of that region to lose their homes, that was really...
especially for the grannies, as you said.
Old people, yeah.
Some are living there. Mostly they are the grannies or grandfathers who returned at around 87, 86, 88 maximum. After 88, nobody already came there. They are so much connected with the soil, with the houses, because they were born in this house. They lived all their life in that house. They are taking care for the soil. And the connection made, in many cases, such a stress that people who used to be evacuated and who didn't return it, they had a lot of health issues that we cannot see by the grannies who are living in the zone, because they are kind of bright-minded, they are very nice.
They're at home.
They're at home, and those who were evacuated suddenly from the living inside of the house, taking care of the animals, taking care of the plants, suddenly they are in the flat and they don't know what to do. And it is stressful. Suddenly there is too much time, and this feeling that you are not home, that's very much damaging the health.
But I want to just add one sentence that this subject is not a taboo.
Oh, okay.
It was not a taboo even in 90s. It was a repulsive subject.
Right. That is the word you used.
Came to the internet epoch, the 2000s, when came people already of younger generation who were interested, or those who lived there and who got skills in sharing information in the internet. The social attitude changed. We perceive it as a big tragedy, we perceive it as a big trauma, but it's the thing that we deal now on a normal basis. Yeah, it's no longer no longer repulsive. We just talk about it. We overcome it.
Right.
You can meet some people from outside of the exclusion zone who never touched the subject, others then they heard about it, or someone was affected by it from their family. In this case, it is a no, absolute no. You can see such people, you can meet them. But when you say like, well, I'm working there, that's suddenly such as, what? Continue.
I was glowing in the dark.
Yes, people question, oh my God.
That's actually an interesting question. You say you are working there. So is it your full-time job? Is it what you do for a living? Or is this YouTube thing and Instagram thing more as a side project, and you are actually real hired researchers for that
We need to speak
area?
Pre-war and pandemic times.
Sure.
Because
we have the time.
Because at that time it was completely different as today.
Oh yes.
So therefore, because of the situation that is in our country, we cannot.
Yeah, so now it is main thing is YouTube and Patreon. That's most important. What we do now there, we do not receive payment for that. Yeah, because it's mostly really like
it's humanitarian aid.
Yeah,
it's help.
It's help. Yeah, help and so on. Somehow like this. Before, yeah, it was paid stuff with specific position and so on. Like it was completely different, but looks like this time gone already.
So what's the difference? How I can imagine it? So before the war, you didn't have a YouTube channel and a Patreon, as I said, and you worked there, and
I was
paid by it.
I was guiding people. I was making the research work, collecting information. But there is also a thing. When I say research work, it not always means that you really need to roam exactly in the area. 50% time is sitting in archives, you know. So you get the hints on the place, you go and find where information is existing. That's basically it's like a documenting of this environment. How much terabytes of content we have? 6 or 7 only images. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, my disk is completely full already.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking what to delete, and I'm already deleting personal stuff. So.
Yes.
Now, and we can take this off if Jörg is comfortable with having this in the actual podcast. But how has the war affected that? I know that Russians were kind of trenching into the Chernobyl area, and at least from the U.S. we were like, what are they doing? Like they're digging into the soil with like just kind of hanging out there, and like, do they not understand what they're doing?
Gentlemen, you know, I will tell you like that. That thing is pretty small thing comparing to the bigger damage that was done, because
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Because before all, the zone is a very big technological complex. There is a special enterprise, Chernobyl nuclear power plant. There are numerous special enterprises in the town of Chernobyl. And for example, there is a central analytics laboratory, one of the most sophisticated in the world, that can analyze radioactive materials. So those guys basically, you know, they just came and after 1 month of presence, or everything was stolen, or everything was damaged. Yeah, like.
But detailed information, of course. So.
Yeah, you can find it in unofficial sources because here is some, let's say, authorization stuff. But you can just Google and you can see the pictures of the damaged equipment. Even on our channel, we have a video with just a few bits of evidence. Yeah, like
I've seen that. Yeah.
Helping to bring computer equipment. You can see there are racks with the Cisco switches with just and the ports are just destroyed switches on the place. But so the strategy, as it feels, was to apply the maximum damage. Yeah, maximum damage and to disrupt as much as possible. So that pretty long process of recovery is still needed. A lot of people helping. It's a big work. Big work.
Yes, yes, it is.
The main product of the zone is the safety. It's a barrier function, yeah, and it was disrupted. Now it's restored, but still we have certain standards, and it should be.
So if I understand correctly, before the war, you basically have been a tourist guide and also doing research on the site, and now you are instead nowadays concentrating on getting income using Patreon and the YouTube channel.
And providing aid to the people within the zone.
And restoring, as I said, what was destroyed by the intruder. Did we summarize that well?
Not only, it's only a part of everything what we do. We have a lot of projects ongoing which are, let's say, not yet announced and
secret. Okay.
To understand if it is even possible to finish them, because some of them are, I would say, kind of megalomaniac. And I'm working on translation of my book because I wrote a book in Slovak language back in the days, and I want to bring it to the wider audience. We are working a lot with this, like you saw, the videos before, comparison before and after. Therefore, we need to look exactly on this one old photo and make it completely towards it, pixel to pixel.
No, or if a little bit shorter, I would say simply, right now, the unfortunate circumstances actually made 100% of our time is actual research work. So from the field stuff, it turned it to the paper stuff, to the technical stuff. It's working with the accumulated data, but still 100% of our time basically still processing the information about history of that area. So like that.
Or sitting together with weird people asking strange questions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're real. It's not AI.
Yeah, I mean, it is real. Well, the thing is, I mean, you didn't really do any interviews before this one, right? I mean, you didn't really go out much in public and talk to the media. Perhaps I didn't see it because
are we media?
We are cryptic.
On the anniversaries, usually we had interviews, as in Slovakia, so in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So basically not in English.
No, not in English.
I'm just curious. Does he want to say that our English is very bad? Yeah.
No.
Your English is
everything.
Great.
Everything is fine. You don't know that, but I would say 50% of our job is finding people who want to do the interview, and the other 50% is convincing them that your English is fine. Don't worry.
I'd say it's probably more like 80%.
Oh, perhaps 80%, because many people are like, my English is too bad. I won't do interviews in English.
But they say it in such a way they'll get on the microphone and be like, yeah, I really can't do this interview because my English is too terrible, and it's like, dude, you just said that in perfect English. Like how can you? Yeah.
Yeah,
and fine.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like nobody cares about the accent as long as everybody is understandable. It's fine, you know. I mean, we even had this situation where once we brought a translator, and after the second questions, they were like, "Oh, this is too complicated. Let's do it straight in English." So And we're like, why did we bring a translator even, you know?
I think she piped in maybe twice just to clarify something, but otherwise, it was a total waste of time.
Why is that even? So why was that even a requirement? You know. So so you were pretty easy to convince, and so we can't complain here. Yeah. So usually it's a lot of convincing. You know.
Yeah.
I can understand this. It's not usual for people to look outside when you are, especially if you are too deep into the research and you see maximum your family, husband, kids, and that's all. And that's all. And then you see new people you really don't know, like, oh, how do I even talk normally?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's super interesting. I mean, I think I've never seen anything similar on YouTube before, by other people going into research like you are going in this topic. Perhaps I'm wrong, but at least I think you are pretty unique.
Yeah, I can tell you why. When you start to dig into the archives, after first time when you see the archive, how it looks, old card system, it's not...
Don't use word what you want to say, they can confuse the algorithm.
Okay. very old system, and to find there the information is super hard, and then you need to search for it inside of these books that the lady brings you. You ask for 50 books, she brings you 10 because...
And you cannot stop, you know, deeper and deeper.
And
yep.
This is not work for everyone. It's the same like with the mathematics. Not everybody likes it. It's same like explaining the physics, what is going on in the zone. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody likes to hear it, but it's a part of it. You need to tell it. You need to explain why we do what we do.
Right.
Yeah, especially, you know, it gives additional context to hardware that you eventually see. For example, you know, a little bit, just for a second, returning to a question about the interviews, yeah? For instance, we have a review, one of the old videos from last year, a review of the beta radiometer that allows to analyze the volumetric activity of liquid or gas or whatever. So I literally 2 weeks ago, I had a talk with one of the scientists who explained to me how using exactly this device was created the entire methodology, for example, of measuring the contamination of milk and food products for entire Soviet Union. And it was created in 2 weeks. So we actually thinking, you know, and how it was integrated with computer systems also. So, you know, sometimes you really need to look from a different side, and that side, it gives you a bigger picture. And sometimes this picture is mind-blowing. So that is the case. Yeah.
Awesome. Have you ever been in a situation where you ran on an ant on a wall where people were like, no, I will not help you. You are on your own on this one?
Right. What was the expression you just used?
I mean, hit a wall?
Hit a wall. Okay. Yes,
isn't that how you say it?
You said finding an ant on the wall, and I was
no. I mean,
that is what he said, isn't it?
And I didn't. Did I say ant? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, you were talking about how an ant crawling on a wall, and I was like,
no.
what?
I mean where you hit an ant.
Oh, an end. Okay.
Yes,
I got you.
Because you hit against a wall, and not the animal, but.
Well, in my case, I honestly cannot recall like firm no towards the questions. There were, like, let's say, situations when I stopped myself to ask when I felt that, you know, either person will feel not good if you'll start to dig. You know, that's already nothing. It's like more some self-control about this, because again, we deal with sensitive subjects sometimes. So. You?
Definitely no.
Herman said no.
Herman said no. Well, yeah, well, once he said no. But otherwise, mostly people would like to share because when you start to explain why you need this, they start to be interested. Like, wow, all the knowledge, my memories are coming back, and I can say it to someone. It's very important to let this old generation say their story.
Yeah, I remember a call to one of the developers. No, I wrote an email to one of the developers of certain computer stuff that we reviewed, and in approximately 3 minutes, I received a call from him where he says, "Young gentleman, I want to warn you. It is impolite to do like this to the old people because I could get a heart attack. I have seen all my young age in front
Oh,
of
God.
the subject of your email. I didn't see these words already 30 years, you know, so be careful."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing, you know.
Yeah, we found often, it's surprising to us that people will say, "How did you get this guy as a guest? How did you get this guy?" And it's like, well, we asked them, and that's.
But this is true.
Yeah.
You know, many people, they actually afraid
Mhm.
just to go in, let's say, in simplest way. You just ask.
Yeah.
You just be honest, you know.
Right.
Explain why do you need it, and if you're honest, it will work. It's simple. So.
And the second thing is, people often tell us like, there's no good in trying because people in that region don't speak English. So I'm like, oh, well, boy, I tried anyway. Because I was like, even back in the day, people didn't constantly run around with a translator on their side. So there must be somebody who knows English. And in most of the cases, anyway, in all cases,
We can get a translator that just doesn't do anything.
yeah. So I see the parallels here. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no translator.
Yeah, we have no translator. Yeah. So.
Awesome. So you mentioned there are some projects you can't talk about. Now the question is, are there some projects you can talk about?
Probably yes, and they will be interesting. So far on the roadmap, let's say we have 4 projects. The first one that will come very, very soon, I believe really like next month it will be already out. We want to restore the very first robot that was created at the power plant. So that was actually a toy tank. A toy tank which was re-engineered completely with the attached cameras, thermal detectors, radiation detectors, and there so far exist only 2 steel frames from a lost video where you can see that. But I already contacted one of the biggest collectors of the Soviet toys in Ukraine who already helped me to find exactly the chassis for it. So there will be a thing, and it will work, and it will run, and soon it will be on YouTube. I believe in August it's gonna be out.
It's super cute.
Yeah, this small, approximately. I don't know, camera. Yeah, this small, just tiny, and fully functional.
It was beautiful because really you see it only as a glimpse as the movie goes, and if you pause it in the correct moment, you could pause it for this little guy, and it was kind of cute, I would say. I have, I see always something that is cute, and I say like, oh, listen, this is cute.
But here is also this very descriptive thing in general and about all our work, because given that we deal with the specific time period, where it was created originally, and that it was made in the conditions of planet economy that had the limitations what it produced. Sometimes using the blurry image, you can really identify, that this component is this connector could be only this, and JPEG will not prevent to making the less more exact copy. So that's one of the things. Then we are going to rebuild a bigger Scout robot. That thing requires pretty much engineering. We are in a, let's say, research stage because we actually met a person who worked with that robot originally. So the question is, some things no one already remembers, for example, which motors were used there and so on. But we will figure out, we already have some components. That thing is big, it's approximately 100 kilograms. If you watched our video about these giant CCTV cameras that go around, so they are carrying exactly this type of camera plus special detectors, and that will work. So that was two projects. The third project we are announced and it's slowly going because actually one of the biggest things that I always were interested in the zone was Duga over the horizon radar, and that is the thing which we will make a documentary about.
Wow.
Yes, it will be something really outstanding in the documentary because, let's say, we learned much in the case. But besides, there was in 1984, 2 years before disaster, they had to install their new mainframe to which they wanted to move the algorithmic processing of the actual operative data they would get from the antenna. This job was never finished, and these machines, they are destroyed. So with the help of one of our friends in Odessa, so in south of Ukraine, we could get actually exactly the same control panel as was on this mainframe. So
Awesome.
in the zone, it's totally rusty. It looks like IBM 370, basically. So this big, giant one. And it's absolutely intact. And there are only 300 of them existing. Likely this one is the last in the world. So the question to make it alive,
Yeah, try to find
Wow.
documentation for it.
Well, actually, documentation is laying on my fridge already.
Already.
So we could find. And the last thing, that's a little bit spoiler because very soon there will be a long-awaited episode about Scala computer that controlled the reactors. So the thing is, it's possible to find a video on YouTube called "The Last Signals of Reactor 4." Any power plant engineer will say that this didn't look like this because there were no displays. There was a teletype. And of course, there were no so short messages. So the thing is, we found exactly the same type of a teletype, like had to be back then. And our idea eventually to simulate the last signals of Unit 4. I don't know if it will work or not, but that will be also a big thing we want to make.
And as a side stuff is going on, translation of some rare, hardly get documents and books or parts of the books with the commentary, what it means, which part, because many things are kind of hardcore to explain the people who are not using the abbreviation or are not directly from the zone.
Yeah, so on Patreon we have a lot of that, yeah.
So that means you have enough tasks for the second half of your lifetime. Or another lifetime even. I mean...
do you want to say that we are going to live just half a year? I don't know.
No. I mean, 4 projects in parallel, that's a lot of stuff for 2 people.
Maybe are 2.
Yeah. It is a lot of stuff, but it is motivating. When you see how good something is going, then you really don't want to throw away everything what is not going, because the translation is so good.
Yeah. So here is the thing that it is not like if I would do some hardware project, they would just grab components and start to solder them right away. Here, it's like with that computer panel, for instance. Okay, I got a panel, I clean it, I solder it, 200 wires. Then I need to sit in the libraries for 3 months. It's not physical work already.
Right.
because if you would deal with something really standard, it would be one thing. And here is a lot of digging. So
yeah, I get that.
We can actually spare the time, and handle them.
And another thing, if you really want to understand the zone and study it completely, you will need more than one lifetime. That's such amount of information.
Now I wonder that you do recreation, refurbishing, and reassembling old computers, and well, as I said, other machinery and terminals, cameras, etc., etc. Is there any long-term plan what you want to do with that? I don't know, build a museum with all that stuff working and showing to the generations afterwards, or will it be in your house? And you
maybe the house is the museum.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yes, sometimes I feel so.
Tell me about it.
I will say like that. There are two possible ways that can go actually parallel. So, in fact, we don't need to create a new museum, because in Kiev there is also Museum of Chernobyl. So some things we actually already donated there. There is, for example, a review of few dosimeters that went there, and we'll very gladly give it there. Yeah. Then there are a few private computer museums. For example, there is a museum of Kharkiv Software and Computer Museum that now also has branch in Kiev. So we arranged already agreed that the mainframe panel will be on display there when they will be ready for this, and we will be ready. As for robots, I really hope from Museum of Chernobyl is an awesome interactive exhibit, because they make sometimes events dedicated to robotics when developers come, and why not to actually have it? Yeah, so we'll be very glad. And one more thing, besides all of that, we actually, as for future generations, we would want to, as much as possible, to preserve the digital history of all of that. Documentation plus translating of that. So like we have a said about translating of the books and so on, we have a lot of documentation scanned on Patreon. We have books scanned and translated. No, not scanned, but just translated. And that's the same, like the craziest thing is the hunt for the original software.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely interesting. Something that will be preserved in a digital form, that this will never fade away.
That's a good segue, because the software is kind of what makes the machines do what they want to do. In a lot of Europe and a lot in North America, a lot of that software has been preserved. We had here in the U.S. we had QLink, Quantum Link. It was like AOL. I don't know if you know what AOL is. It's terrible. But a lot of stuff was stored on that, and then that got stored elsewhere. So there's a lot of software that you can just find on the internet on the Wayback Machine. I was thinking what you were looking at off the side.
He was.
Hang on. Just because you did that.
Now he's showing his dog. I know.
Yes, I have to do this every time. I try to get him in every episode.
Oh, hello.
That's my buddy.
He's so sweet.
In regards to the Chernobyl software, here is pretty interesting thing that many applications, they were created only for a very specific purpose, use it for very, very short period of time, and that's basically lost there quite often.
Right.
But from them remained sometimes, let's say, screenshots, or printouts that we can find in literature. So I have such idea that at some point I will do. I actually want to make a demo application. It will be DOS application, because most of them are also DOS. Excuse me. And basically, that a user will be able to get a look and feel. Yeah. So these interfaces, they will not be really functional, but you will be able to see how did it look back then. Yeah.
So kind of a Chernobyl nuclear plant simulator for home use.
There was a Chernobyl simulator on the C64, and I could never get it to I could never get it to melt down. Of course, I didn't know what I was doing.
You know,
Not about top. He's about the on Commodore. There
Yeah.
is. I need a Commodore for this. I don't have one.
well, once I was playing such a simulator for the nuclear reactor, and I was thinking, what a cool game, how realistic it looks, and like, let's go harder, and let's go harder, like, let's try to melt it down. It was really hard to making
Yeah.
down. And then I find out that in the end, when I was reading, because I was surprised for a game that is like 300 pages manual, that was not okay. Then I find out that in reality it's not a game. It's a simulator for the nuclear trainees.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But it was a funny game.
There exists a DOS application and a Windows application specifically for a modernized version of RBMK reactors that you can really train how to control them, in the various roles of the stuff. The same exists for any BVRs, for anything.
And how do you manage? Because one of the things that we've got, like with the Commodore 64, the chips in there, there is a like the audio chip, the SID chip. There is a shortage of those, and they're disappearing for long. The longer we go, the less there are. And here we've gone to people have programmed FPGAs to emulate them. They've gone into software emulation using other hardware. How are you guys like working with these chips that haven't been in production for 30, 40 years?
I would say it's a magic of a place.
eBay.
No. You see, the thing is, we deal mostly with the Soviet chips. Back in the Soviet time, we had a microchip production straight here in Kiev. For example, Quasar factory, Electron Mash factory, all that. It was not competitive when Soviet Union collapsed, but the thing is, they produced a hell lot of them. And it's not a real trouble to buy, for example, 8806 clone nowadays for, say, 20 cents.
Okay. Okay. So you have no chip shortage on the old stuff.
But no, there was a very funny situation when sometimes, when we deal with not a clone chip, but some really proprietary chip was made by Soviet industry, and there existed such chips. Sometimes appear very funny situation because we actually have a big electronics market in Kiev where still there are sellers who back then accumulated big stashes of that, and I was looking for a specific gold chip with white ceramic, which was proprietary, and he just looking at me and saying, I have only one question. For what do you need a chip that would be normally used for some, let's say, not a general purpose? And then I explained for home computer. I said, you are a lucky guy, it seems it has only 2 applications. And I have seen it last time in 20 years. So with this stuff, that's really a trouble. That's really a trouble, but it's very rare. Normally, it's not a problem.
That market is absolutely. If you will ever go to visit Kiev, you have to see it because that's a real cyberpunk there. Yeah,
it's really, there is a video on our channel about this market. Unfortunately, I came there. It was trouble. We had multiple attacks on our energy infrastructure. So people were running on generators, and literally we could have energy 4 hours. We have 4 hours. We don't have. There, most of closed, but in normal time, that all would be open, and there will be chances, for example, bright LEDs or neon tubes, and that really looks like something from William Gibson.
Right.
With the old cables hanging from these containers, it is really a place.
1 second, AJ, perhaps you should have a look after your dog because it will be a problem because we have sneezing or something all the time.
I have my dog, and then I have also a coughing dog that is laying in her bed.
Yeah.
And,
so just
she's been
asking
doing that. Oh, she's been doing that the whole recording.
Ooh.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah. So far, I think it's been pretty good, but
because now it
wild.
started getting worse. Anyway, there was one comment you did, Michaela, that was you have so much photos and material that you don't know where to store it. Did you think, because AJ mentioned the Wayback Machine, did you think about cooperating with the Internet Archive actually?
In fact, I didn't thought about this due to the problem that many of my photos were stolen in the past, and stolen by people. So therefore, I am kind of having it on my own crypted disks for now. And what will be later, I don't know. Depends on the quantity that I will be able to take. Because that's a very good question when I will return to the photography inside of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Most probably after the war.
I would add you on the one thing. The picture itself, any generic picture is amazing thing, but much more important to add a certain commentary to it, and that really defines much. So we still need to find the proper format. She made an amazing book, for example, for now just in the Slovak, but will be in English. That's attempt of giving such things, for instance.
I've just mentioned it because we had the Internet Archive as guests also for our podcast a few years ago, and their storage is endless. Seriously, I mean, they would host really anything. I mean, they even scan books and stuff. So
maybe we should consider. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there was one of our patrons on Patreon. He actually created the how to call it, a folder on the archive.org for the rare documentation to check how it is going, because last time it was again inaccessible, but the idea is very good actually, yeah, to really store it in one place, especially documentation, especially technical things, because to find them is something.
Yeah, and actually the interview was with Jason Scott, who is head of archiving. So he is actually the main responsible person to archive anything for the Internet Archive. So
is it possible then? I will need to watch if it's already somewhere possible to see it. I would like to see this.
Yeah. Actually, it was an audio version, no video, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But pardon?
That's perfect for me. I can do something with my hands and listening to it.
Yeah. And Jörg is very good at connecting people, so.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, things.
You know, and it's also interesting talking about research and stuff. I mean, when people are in my living room, I mean, you see an arcade machine behind me. Question number one is always, does this stuff work? And I'm like, of course it works. I wouldn't put anything broken in my living room,
never
you know?
turns it on. I've never seen it work.
Well.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, we see some trees behind you.
Trees?
Oh, are you still in, they're still in the Together view, I guess.
Well, perhaps they are, but I'm not. Well, I mean, they can switch it.
It's okay. Oh, can I? Whatever. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, I had us with some. I think I saw us with rocks when I joined the call.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Maybe like this. Ah, yeah, that's much better. That's much better. Mm-hmm.
You see? Yeah. So
the arcade cabinet that allegedly works, but I've never seen it work.
Well,
we've been doing
it
this
works.
for how many years have we been doing this now for? Like this, 8?
The podcast?
Yeah.
9 years.
9 years. Okay.
9 years. 9 years. Yeah, it works. Yeah. Anyway, so interesting. Well, thanks for talking to us about this thing. I will definitely make sure to send you the link to the archive interview.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, where can people go to find out about what you're doing and where they can follow along and join your Patreon and YouTube and all that stuff?
For us, the most important that what we do is needed for people, because that was always about this. So if someone will find something really unique, we hope it will be amazing.
So, can you tell us what, for the listeners, watchers, what are your main social channels?
Our social channels for now is just YouTube. Also, we have Instagram, but I relatively rare use it. But it will be better actually. And also, we just started TikTok. Also, yeah. Well, they're mostly for tiny pieces of videos, and the Patreon. So that's our channel.
Awesome. And they are all under the nickname Chernobyl Family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put links to everything in the podcast description below.
Yeah,
I'll click on it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time. Super interesting talking to you guys.
Fascinating. Yeah.
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 Very happy we could make this happen. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, seriously.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Cool.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.